Hello there, Gindiana Bones here, ready and raring to ruminate as ever, yes. Now, today I've been asked to talk a little bit about symposia, that being, as we've heard in the previous video, the plural of symposium, yes. Well, I know a little bit about symposia, however, for this video I may have to swap my gin, in fact, for wine, so here we go. There's some gin, put it down there, and wine, yes, lovely. So, in accordance with ancient Greeks, here we go, yes, with wine, symposia, roll that tape. The word symposium derives from the ancient Greek meaning to drink together, and was essentially a ritualized drinking party, good times. Evidence for symposia come from ancient writers, including Plato, as seen here. In Socratic dialogues and various poems were invited into the conversation in symposia. There are also many depictions upon so-called red figureware vases, as seen here. Symposia and similar parties were a feature of Greek, Etruscan, and later Roman culture. The symposium was an important and carefully staged Hellenic social institution. Men from good families could meet and discuss various topics, including the philosophy of the day, both good and bad, the nature of love, the difference between genders, joking, boasting, and revelry. The 1st century AD historian Plutarch described symposia rather eloquently as a passing of time over wine which, guided by gracious behaviour, ends in friendship. A good symposium was also an opportunity to pass on traditional values, knowledge, myths, and stories of the gods. Symposia also offered liberation from everyday restraints. The Greeks believed in moderation, but only in moderation. Symposia were usually held in celebration or on a special occasion, such as victory in an athletic or poetic contest. For example, the philosophical text Symposium by Plato takes place during a party hosted by the poet Agathon to celebrate his first victory in a dramatic competition in 416 BC. Here they famously discuss the concept of love, this text being the root of the concept of Platonic love. To begin a symposium, it was customary to send out wax tablet invites to one's guests. By the 4th century BC, most good houses had an andron, or men's quarters, where one could recline and drink upon couches. This is where the symposium would take place. The symposiasts, draped in garlands, would try to recline away from the door to allow access for food, wine, and entertainment. It was entirely possible to go from symposium to symposium. There are accounts of staggering drunken, nearly naked men arriving late at symposia. A symposium would be overseen by a symposiarch. Amongst other things, his job was to decide how strong the wine would be, or rather how diluted by water, depending upon the quality of the conversation desired. Wine was never drunk undiluted. That was the purview of barbarians from other lands. A good symposiarch was the quintessence of conviviality, neither inclined to drunkenness nor averse to drinking. Wine was drawn from a large jar called a krater, so big it was carried by 2 men. Wine was drunk from bowl-like cups called kiliks. These often had surprising, explicit, or amusing scenes which were revealed as the wine was finished. Incidentally, kiliks is the root of the word chalice. Yes, there's some info for the pub quiz. Formalities had to be observed, including spilling some of your drink in honor of the gods or the mourned dead. This is called a libation. And according to a play from 375 BC, a sensible symposium has only 3 kraters of wine, the first for health, the second for love and pleasure, and the third for sleep. At this point, wise men, it is said, go home. For the 4th krater, it is said, belongs to bad behavior. The 5th krater supposedly invokes shouting amongst symposiasts. Those who have imbibed of krater number 6 are full of rudeness and insults. Escalation comes with crater number 7, who invokes fighting amongst the guests. With crater number 8 comes the distinct possibility of broken furniture. Crater number 9 brings about a deep depression amongst the symposiasts who have imbibed. And crater number 10, assuming you're still awake, invokes madness and, quite rightly, unconsciousness. Despite so stark a warning, it seems Symposia frequently went beyond the 3-crater limit. Here we see a slave helping his master to vomit. And here a musician gains the unwanted attention of a drunken symposiast. However, before things got out of hand, poetry and music were central to the ritual and pleasure of a symposium. These along with more sensual activities provided by the entertainment. Patriotic and bawdy drinking songs, called scholia, were also part of the symposium. Verses would be improvised back and forth between symposiasts, along with rhetoric and speeches. Drinking often invokes an appetite, and an array of honeyed treats was made available to symposiasts. Also treats with nuts, including the pine nut, which was believed to be an aphrodisiac. As the evening wore on, drunken symposiasts would engage in games, including kotabos. This was a subversion of the libation, whereby one takes the dregs of wine from one's kylix, and attempts to hurl the liquid across the room to a kylix on the other side of the room, which no doubt looked further and further away the more one drank. Depictions of this game are fairly common. Eventually, the symposium would end with a customary commercienne, the symposiasts roaming about the streets in a gang. Drunken and rowdy, it was not unusual for random citizens to be assaulted. Contrary to what one might think, the worst-behaved symposiasts were frequently the elders and often the philosophers. So there you have it. Ancient Greeks knew how to have a good time. And what's more, the elder ones, those who should really know better, they were the worst of the lot. Nonetheless, the game of kotabos has most certainly inspired me. I gave it a go just before. Let's take a look at the results, shall we? Roll that tape. Right, okay. No. Okay, one more go. Yes! There you go. Kotabos and Gindiana Bones were like that. We're as close as 2 peas in a pod, drinking far too much wine and enjoying the evening together. Yes. I must explain, though, with the majority of my glass, I did in fact miss the target. I had to use a little bit left in the bottom to get the centre. But nonetheless, I got the target. Yeah. All this drinking and talk of symposia has made me rather hungry. What say we head over to the kitchen at 41 Feasts, where I believe Mark, or Mr. Soup, is already waiting with Nicola to cook up a lovely symposiast's feast. Or at the very least, a lovely snack to go with my wine. Anyway, until next time, cheers.
Hello again. Today we're going to make a symposium snack, honey sesame fritters. The ingredients you need today are flour, water, honey, toasted sesame seeds, salt and olive oil. Take 125 grams of flour and add a pinch or so of salt for flavour. Then about 225 ml of water. Slowly add it to make a batter. When you have a nice runny batter, add a tablespoon of honey. This one is good and thick today. Mix the honey well into the batter. And now it's time to cook them. You need about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. While the oil is coming to temperature, it is perhaps worth mentioning that this fritter was described by the Roman physician Galen of Pergamon in the early 1st century AD. When the oil has come to temperature, pour about a quarter of your batter into the middle there. When you think it's browned on one side, flip it over to cook the other. And then when it's cooked, take it out and drain it on kitchen paper. When you've cooked all your batter, you should have a stack of fritters. The recipe calls to pour over about another 2 tablespoons of honey. I'm sure the ancient Greeks didn't use a knife to get it out or spread it. Finally, using tongs, dip your fritter in, well, I've got about 20 grams of toasted white sesame Mark, seed.
I'll let you try to eat these ones with your fingers. They're quite large and a bit sticky.
Okay. Ooh. That's really good. It's like a pancake but with honey and sesame seeds. Great. Proper booze food. Yeah.
Well, that's what they did at the Symposium, wasn't it?
Superb.
I've used wholemeal flour, local to Northumberland, but you can use plain flour if you'd like and if that's what you've got in.
Superb. I'll have a bit more. So, if you want to find out how to make this, and I really do recommend it, visit the link below. Go to Nicola's blog, the recipe's there. Also, do check out the previous videos we've done in this season. We're almost done, one more to go. And until next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.